Hello and welcome to week 4 of this series. This week we're going to be looking at the 2019 Worlds Harrogate Circuit. Let's get into the footage. So you can see here we're starting at the start pens and it's pretty quickly into the start banner, only about 100 meters. The course is pretty rolling terrain, so I'm going to be doing TT efforts on here. But you'll see that the first uphill occurs about 300-400 meters after the start banner, where you hit 3%. You're going to be on this uphill grade until the first section that you can super tuck in. And that is kind of a common theme across each of these sections. They tend to be slightly uphill, not real steep, but also not flat. And at the end of which you'll have a super tuckable section to go through to get some recovery in. For that reason, I would suggest using a more all-round bike leaning towards more lightweight. So something like the Tarmac SL7 or the Tarmac Pro, coupled with the DT Swiss Arc die cut wheel set, just as a good all-rounder wheel. The combination should give you a pretty fast overall time. And it's important for this section to make sure that you are with the front group coming out of that start banner, since it will get really strung out due to the speeds that you hold coming through the start of a Zwift race. And they'll probably be held all the way to the first super tuck section, which you'll see coming up here in just a second. As you hit this downhill here, you should try to super tuck as soon as you can and get in as much recovery as you can, since it's not very far to the next climbing portion. Anyone that got distance on the last hill will be trying to catch up before the super tuck ends here. And for that reason, you'll have some people carry speed through the group and probably start to bridge off a bit. Normally, if the distance isn't more than a couple seconds, you can pull them back, but it's worth noting to make sure that no one doesn't attack through that section, as this is the flattest part of the course, is where we are now. So some bigger riders or TT specialists may let the gap open up going into the descent, catch up on the descent, and then attack through into this flat section. We're going to see a pair of little spikes in gradient where we just saw one there. We're going to come up to a second one here where another attack might be laid down to try to break up the group a little bit before we get into the next section where super tucking is a possibility. You're going to want to make sure that you get past this section to where it's about 7 or 8% before you try to super tuck, because it does kind of level out a bit in the middle beforehand. And make sure you stand up and start pedaling before the end of that super tuck section, because there is the riser in the middle that you're going to need to try to keep your speed over. The group is probably going to try to maintain as much speed as they can coming into this section here. There is a bit of a steep gradient as you come out of the super tuck portion. And you'll see that we sit in again around 2 to 3% for a pretty good amount of time before getting to another point of super tucking. If you time it right as you go down here, you should also be able to super tuck again for a pretty good distance. This is the longest segment that you can super tuck in to get some recovery. It also leads you directly into the KOM, so you're going to want to get up and on the pedals before the end of the super tuck so that you can carry that momentum up the first section of the KOM. Now the KOM is a little under a kilometer in length. You'll see here it's going to take me about 2 minutes and 50 seconds to get up. Some people will be able to do this in closer to about 2 minutes 15, 2 minutes 20. Lower categories, like your Bs, your Cs, might take upwards of 3 to 4 minutes. It all depends on the speed of your group. As you come over the top here, you'll see that we get into another super tuck. So the climbers are probably going to look to attack up that KOM, get as much distance as they can from the heavier riders, and then super tuck down this descent to maintain and grow that gap. The descent does level off a bit here in the middle, so you're going to want to make sure that you're up and pedaling for that before you super tuck again here. The end of the descent brings you into another steep climb for only about 30 seconds, but it is worth noting because heavier riders that may be trying to catch up on the previous descent will need to push up that climb in order to make sure that they still stay with those climbers that they just worked so hard to catch. After that point, we get to a flat section of the course. Here it should be easier to stay with the group as we approach the sprint banner. You'll see it takes me around 24 seconds to get through this sprint banner, but if you've watched any of the other videos, you know that I'm not exactly a good sprinter, so most people will probably be doing it significantly faster than me, especially if they have their lead out. And it brings us back into a reasonably flat section. If the group is going fast enough, you can super tuck for like random little sections here, but for the most part, it's not a steep enough descent to do that. Now we're going to approach one of the final climbs here, where it will spike up for a couple seconds. Again, we're getting close to the end of the race now, but the lighter riders that weren't able to contest that sprint may try to push up over that hill to put more hurt on the people that were in the sprint, and it's a pretty good strategy since they would have just gone really deep to win the sprint points, and they probably won't be recovered fully. Now here we see another pretty steep gradient. It is the steepest section of the whole course. It's about 100 meters in length, and you really need to come over with the front group if you're going to be contesting the final sprint here. You're going to want to save a little bit in the legs to be able to snap through the sprint, but if you're gapped off by 5 seconds coming over that final climb, you're probably not going to be contesting it. And that is the whole course. Now keep in mind, if you're doing the ZRL, you'll be racing this course twice. So you'll have 2 times up the KOM and 2 times through the sprint banner, as well as 2 times through that final climb into the finish line. The groups will probably be split up and separated on the climbs, with the heavier riders needing to work to claw them back or distance them on the lower gradient climbs, such as the one at the beginning and the second section where you finish the super tuck, come through that short spike, and then it levels off. Otherwise, good luck at the races. Have a wonderful weekend. If you have questions, comments, concerns, drop them below. Give the video a like if you found it useful, and subscribe if you would like to not miss any more route recons. Have a wonderful day.